All right, I wanted to just go over the Recycle and Redesign project a little bit with you. Some of you have asked if this could be a team event, and just to let you know that it is not. It is an individual event. We are following the STAR event guidelines from FCCLA, and it is recognized only as an individual event. So in class, we're also going to keep it just as an individual event. And next, I'll just go through all of the steps of preparing for the project. So this is on page 2 of your document. It is going to go over the specifications for the display. Now for classroom purposes, I'm not going to require you make a display. Instead, you will do a short Google Slides presentation that contains the same information that a display would. However, if you are in FCCLA and you would like to take your Recycle and Redesign project and compete with it at STAR events, you would have to take your project information and the things that you created for a Google slide and go ahead and create a trifold display board out of that. It's not really that hard to do, and you can get creative with putting it together, but it's not something we're going to take time to do in class, okay? So you will just want to skip over that information that talks about the display requirements. If you're looking at the scoring sheet here, you do not have to have a project identification page for our presentation in class. You do not have to do the FCCLA planning process summary page for our project in class. You do not have to do evidence of online project summary submission in class, okay? What you will need to do is in the contents of the display, that section. So in your presentation, and you'll have a rubric for this later, your presentation must contain your material profile. It is what tells all about the fabrics that you used, how much each of the the products that you were using. So maybe you had several different items. Maybe you had a dress that you converted into something, or you had a zipper that you used from one item on your project. That's where you will list all of those items out. And you have to be very specific with this, especially if you are going to take this on and compete with it for FCCLA. So that is what the material profile is. You will have a sheet shared with you in Google Classroom that's called Materials List, and that's what you'll use to complete your material profile. You'll also have a cost itemization, which lists out all the items that you used and says how much you spent on it. So let's say you used everything that is donated from the classroom, or you brought in your own items from home for free, maybe clothes that don't fit you anymore, then your cost would be 0. But if you go out to Goodwill or some other thrift store and spend money, you will need to keep track of how much you spend exactly on each item. Maybe you have to go to Walmart and buy a certain kind of zipper or buttons. You would have to keep track of how much you spent on each of those things. Even if it is something like interfacing or liner, that if you purchase it, if you spend any money on it, you have to keep track of that. Your time log, you're gonna basically use the calendar that I give you in class to go off of, but then you'll add any time that you work on this project outside of class, including time that you spend investigating. So if you stay up for 3 hours watching YouTube videos for ideas, you can include that information as part of your time log. One really important step is to include your photo storyboard. So as you start the project, as soon as you have the materials here that you're going to use, you're going to want to take pictures. Take pictures of your items, what they look like before. Take pictures of what your items look like as you start to cut them up or alter them. And then you'll take pictures as you construct and put your items back together. And then your finished photos. So those are really an important part of the project, is having the pictures throughout. The next part of the it says the display may contain these items, but they're not required. Again, this would be something that we would look into if you are going to be competing at STAR events with FCCLA. This is not something that we are going to do for our project in class. This information is on the 3rd page of your documentation. Basically, it's just talking about what skills does this project require. Design. The design should exhibit effective form and function. So you want to make sure that whatever you're making makes sense, that it works, it's going to function. If it is a garment for a person to wear, that a person could get it off and on. If it is an outfit for a dog, that it is safe and it's not going to harm the dog. Those types of things would go on in the design. So it needs to have form and function in mind. Workmanship. The product should exhibit high quality workmanship and should be marketable. So we want to practice really clean sewing. We don't want to see raw edges. We don't want to see unfinished seams or unfinished hems. You are in an advanced sewing class and you are trying to showcase your skills and abilities by using professional finishing skills. You could use the serger to finish seams, or you could use a double turned hem, or maybe a zigzag finish or an overcast. But you really do need to think about those things and make sure that seams are finished off. Creativity. The design and product should reflect creativity, imagination, and innovation. You know, you want to be thinking outside the box a little bit and coming up with a design that is new and different in some ways, but also still fits with the function. And the recycle and redesign skills. Your products will be evaluated on 8 recycling and redesign skills. We'll look at those next. But you'll want to make sure that it fits into those categories. The concept here is you do not want to take something that was once a really great item. Like, let's say one of the dresses that we were donated from Mrs. Floyd. If the dress is in really, really nice condition and you could put it on and it looks perfect, and you chop it up and turn it into something that is unwearable or unfit to use, that is not a good use of the recycled project. It needs to make an item that was ill-fitting or that was maybe torn or dirty in some area, and you are able to repurpose that item and take it from something that is unusable into something that is now usable again. So you'll want to really keep that in mind. The other thing is we are making this for school, and you want to keep the items school appropriate. Lingerie and swimsuits are not allowed. This is for the FCCLA standard. However, for our class purposes, I really need you to focus on that and think about items that would be school appropriate to make and wear. If it is not something that would pass the school dress code, then you do need to run it by me. Here's what I don't want to have happen. I don't want you to make something in my class, wear it to school, and then be sent in for a dress code violation, and then say, well, Mrs. McNew had me make this in her class, so she thought it was fine. I need for you to understand that what you're making, that it's yours. It's on your shoulders. It is your plan. It is your design. And so I would really appreciate if you do make things that are school appropriate. Now, you may recall from looking through past projects, there was a open back outfit. That student talked to me ahead of time. We went through the plan. She assured me she would never, ever try to wear this outfit at school. And to my knowledge, she never did. So that was something that we planned ahead of time for, okay? So really think about the appropriateness of it for a school function, and that it displays some level of modesty where you're not showing, too much of your skin or too much of your body. So this sheet is the criteria that you'll need to follow, and so you can be looking at different things. This is the skill area rubric. You have to go through before you turn this project in and check off the 8 that you would like me to look at while I'm grading it. And this would be the same if you're competing for FCCLA. You choose ahead of time what you want the judges to look at. The first is it a good choice of item for recycling? That's what I was mentioning earlier. Like, was it something that maybe was too small, unusable, that it had tears in it or something? Maybe it was just really out of style. Maybe it was very oversized. And then you've turned it into something, you've transformed it into something new and better. That would make it a good choice of item for recycling. Another thing that would be considered a good item for recycling is something that is readily available. Maybe it is jeans that get ripped or that are out of style and you convert them into something new. That's something that most people could get their hands on. So if it's something a little bit more specific or that is hard to come by or not that readily available, it may not be as good of an item for recycling. The second one, this is a requirement. You have to use more than one recyclable item in your product. At least 2 things made into one new thing is a requirement for this. So you'll all want to have that one checked off, okay? Innovative use of recyclables, conservation, theme, or slogan. So you can include that if you are, maybe you are short on skills, actual sewing skills. You can include more of these things and create some kind of theme or slogan that is talking about the environmentalism of it. Design of an energy-saving product could give you a check. Design of a product that promotes environmentalism. If you come up with a name for your product, which you will all want to do that. If you make a sketch of an accessory. If you used shaped seams, edges, and or corners. Does your project include the sewing of pockets? So let's say you have a men's shirt that already has a pocket on the front of it. You do not get to count that because you did not make the pocket. But if you make a garment that now has pockets, then you would count that. Do you sew in and create gathers or ruffles? Do you create and make straps, ties, or bands? Did you add in a lining, facing, or interfacing? Did you apply any trims or embellishments? Those are other things that you could check off. Did you use embroidery? Maybe you put in hand embroidery stitching to do a design on the fabric. Do you use a napped fabric or something that has a one-way print? That's a little bit more of a skill, like something like velvet or a print that has only one direction, maybe if it has words on it or some picture that you don't want to be upside down. You could also create a basic marketing plan for how you might mass produce this and sell it. The next one doesn't really apply to us. This would be if you were doing an interior design redesign.